that I actually won an award for and published in London some time ago. But that's something that I recommend go to any website and look for me, and also sharing from my deep feelings about home, belonging, and family, and what makes us define refugee. A little bit about me, I think, to start with. Ayar is my full name. I was born formerly in Kurdistan, Iraq. And now, obviously, Kurds also refer to the eastern part of Kurdistan. So we leave those aside, but obviously that geography that is always been since 1918 problematic. But that whole name, where you belong, is something that you're born into. But I couldn't help to think that I'm Kurdish and therefore persecuted, different problems all over. There's always been war, whatever. That's what I remember really since I was a child. And therefore I enter politics and democratic politics and socialist politics and believing in social justice since age 12. And that's what I remember again. We talked about borders. And being from Iran, I never had a passport. And that's probably something that makes from outside say, well, they were smugglers, aren't they? Why? Because we thought, we don't recognize these borders. Cousin of my mother lived in Suleimania, another cousin in Arabic, we call it Hawler in Kurdish. And I remember we crossed at night these borders many times. We went to Nowruz celebration, brought back tea, Iraqi tea, and we had iftar, stajul from Iran, and it was always that exchange, that where you come from, and the exchange that it remained in my mind that what are these borders, when they created. I think I had this in my mind, but then what happened during the Iraqi war? Universities closed, and I was an university activist at the time. I was allowed to enter, and before that activities, I used to write articles for student magazines. For example, in my mind, I thought it would be good that we can share, for example, the floor with women being involved, we can dance, we can talk about issues, we can talk about our relationship with America at the time, or, I don't know, students from all sorts of background be allowed to go access bursaries for them to go to study abroad. Anything, any thinking, and any not alongside the state would have been forbidden for us, and therefore we would have been classified as political activist, troublemaker, communist, Kurd, under that label easily, and therefore wanted. And I thought that was my consciousness really from the family and my own experience. That I thought, no, I won't give up. I think there is something right in there that I think I question, but I probably don't have any answer, and I still don't have no right answer. And therefore the answer is probably lies in the communication and dialogue between different parties, different groups, political parties, cities, towns, whatever religion that we find a common way. But I think my childhood, therefore I didn't, the poem will tell you a little bit more about what I missed and where do I belong. But I think I just pass on to a little bit my research. It will also say a bit more about who I am. Since 2008, I started study and actively researching both about forced migration, not only in Iran, Middle East, Iraq, or Egypt, and elsewhere worldwide. And I came across, for example, here I have only few statistics to share with you. It's a kind of background information to my research. The forced migration and people seeking a better job and safety and security is not only in the Middle East or didn't start there. It was well before that. For example, this is a world history of forced migration. 1620s, pilgrim fathers from England, they crossed the sea to New England. and they were persecuted, and they didn't want to be here, couldn't be here, and therefore they went and made new life and new land for themselves. In the 1720s, Huguenots crossed the sea and found a new home in England. And therefore England, for me, when I look at the literature, is not a stranger. It's always been on either sending or receiving people from different cultures and for different reasons. And probably that makes the history of London as a super rich, super diversity that we live in. And I'm proud to be part of this city so rich that it's always been kind of a center for people movement, coming, going, but settling, contributing, struggling a little bit, but then the whole movement, it makes London like it ticks like a clock really, that we all somehow relate to it. We have problems, we challenge it, but at the same time it works for many, many people. There's still things to be done. But this is what I think is important. The whole London experience for me, it made me rethink on my political ideology, my identity, the way I thought before I became a refugee. And therefore, if you really ask me, I really believe I am a citizen of the world. I'm an internationalist, but I am also a Kurd, an Iranian, a man, a brother, a worker, a professional, a volunteer, a neighbor. So all these, and a Londoner, and a British citizen. I don't see for myself these are contradictory identities, or I need to define or change them accordingly. I am now free. I feel that freedom, the passport that I have in my heart, that I can write whatever I like, the study that I love, the people that I work with, the relationship that I have with Kurdistan, the whole Iran through the internet, that I have connection with Kerman, with Shiraz, activism in Berlin or in Sweden. It doesn't really matter. And I think that is what it makes me tick, and it makes me proud, and I feel that I have things to share, and I think this is what it makes the future of London better, and hopefully the contribution that I want to go back one day, that I did actually with Messaging Conference in Iraq in October. When they asked me, if you come back one day to Hawler, what do you want to do? I said, very simple, I just want to start voluntary sector. I just start a charity to the young, or unemployed, to those who want to be involved, whatever. An independent institution that I feel London taught me, and I am part of it, and I think it is nice, is to be able to communicate without fear, without state interfering, without you being labeled, and you as a human being. I think this is so important, and that makes my history again, starting from somewhere corner, that I was in prison. That I was in prison because I wrote an article against something, because I thought differently, because I expressed myself. I've been writing, I always wanted to listen to my grandmother to tell me stories. Then I learned those stories and I told my children. I always wanted to write. I wanted to be able to express myself. And in Farsi, in Kurdish, now in English. I think that is the powerful tool that we have, the communication that we have, and nobody should fear about expressing who they are, what they want, and then accept challenges and always feel that they can move forward. So the background of my thinking, obviously, the research, and I have only hypothesis that I think I'm entering a research 250, 300,000 Kurds who live in the UK, and probably 70,000 in London. I have no idea what I'm entering to, but I know, I speak the language, I know they speak from their group point of view, the religion, the diverse community they come from, it doesn't really matter. But I want to see that human element, and I want to challenge Oxford University's policy and politics-driven research on refugees. There's always somehow groups put together and labeled Kurds, Iranians, workers from Latin America, that box, this box. And I want to say, no, within these boxes, they're not fixed, They are individuals, but they also think. They are mothers. They are young people born in the second and young generation. They think differently. Don't label this way. And therefore, the kind of the dialogue I have already in the literature that I'm criticizing. My ambition is to talk about living experiences of people, living experiences of people who came here as victims of forced migration, refugees, some cities settled, they have families, and therefore they have every right to change, to choose their identity, to live the life the way they want, and change or not change. But the common ground is we respect each other and we feel that we belong, and that belonging is defined and redefined. There's nothing for the state to tell us and the policies to dictate or politics to divide us. And therefore this is probably, I'm going a little bit beyond, I'm not challenging or dismissing in a way the work being done, but I think I have a message. The message is different, which I recognize individual human beings, and I recognize their living experiences, and I think the research bringing a model probably that other communities also have to stand up and say, my voice needs to be heard and all voices are equal. I think I am entering now the third part. I'm going a little bit quicker because I really want you to come and ask questions or challenge what I say or whatever dialogue we have in the time remaining. Lynn kindly, professionally, and I told her she is officially my best friend, read through these small articles that I prepared after I came back from my trip, recent trip to Iraqi Kurdistan. I actually visited a refugee camp called Mahmoud. You can Google it, it will come up. 60 kilometers from Erbil. I visited that particular camp and I was so inspired, moved, and I still think about their life and the resilience and the humanity that I saw. 25,000 people who live in that camp. The background to it was obviously politics, divisions, and not so interesting. But anyway, 5,000 Kurdish villages and towns destroyed, and the kind of the war is still ongoing, but not as bad as was between 1990s to 2000. In Turkey. And that is how the people that are displaced. And they think they are internally displaced. That's the definition. They don't think they're refugee. Because refugee, by definition, 1952 convention is if you cross an international border. But those Kurds don't think they have crossed an international border. They think we just internally displaced from one part of Kurdistan to the other. And they're absolutely right, because they're really those mountains, Kandil Mountains, the other side, my cousins, their cousins, we speak the same language, and those borders really created in 1918 and 1920s, creation of Iran, when Ottoman Empire collapsed. And therefore, these are politically kind of motivation there, but they also 25,000 people, an elected committee. For the first time I saw, I'm a little bit surprised really that 3 women, 2 men. And I really welcome that. For the first time, Kurds allowing more women in their committee. It was really fantastic. And they were more vocal and telling me, and what I have highlighted here is actually what those 3 women at the end told me. That more quality drinking water and a health center inside the camp. Imagine. But the men told me, if we come talk to the United Nations, they have a political message. And I said, well, boring. I'm not here for that. I'm only here to help you to improve your camp because you live here and I care about it. I am a refugee advocate. I do care about refugee health and welfare in London, in Sadak, in Mahmoud, in South Sudan, in Guatemala, wherever. I'm a refugee studies student. Therefore, I highlighted the message. And I think if you want to read the article, and then ask me when it needs to be going, hopefully, in a news bulletin, UNHCR, it gives that voice to the voiceless. That also it makes me proud that they have done something, and this is the highlight of my trip to Iraq. A little bit more, Kurdish regional government is an autonomous authority that since 1994 and officially since 2003 into force. They're not they're cooperating more or less with Baghdad government that also understanding the dynamism of divisions, historic in Iraq. People cooperate, fight each other, but they know the army survived. They're united, oil, there's American companies there are lots of things. But one good thing is now the whole Iraq, and especially the Kurdish area, is relatively safe, and encourage diaspora to come back and contribute and engage. And I think that is good for returnees, for refugees, where they can return. And I'm aware of these 100 families, many nurses, professionals, businessmen and women, they have actually returned, artists, and it's safe for them. One day I would like to go and contribute to other university or whatever, and I think that is the future and the dream for any member of diaspora, other communities as well, but I am specifically talking about Kurdish community that they have that dream, if they can contribute with so-called full hands, go back one day. Now they're welcoming, and I think that's good. I hope the cooperation, our coming back there and bringing, writing an article, for example, in a small way, contributing that to dialogue happening between the Middle East and the one in the UK, is obviously responsible historically for what is happening in Iraq since 1918 and now, as you know, after Iraqi war and 2003-4, whatever, and also as a human community overall. Hopefully, we will see a more stable, safe Iraq, that refugees either become resident, they have work permit, they stay there, or they safely return what they want. That's what they want to see, and hopefully a positive model for development, for peace and prosperity in the Middle East. I think I just ended here. I have thrown a lot. Genuinely, I thought that I can talk whatever without any note, just share from what I feel that I would feel I am just a member of this community from tonight. And whenever you ask me, I come back again and I tell you more about my research. And it's more about showing my kind of respect and again saying how pleasant it is. I'm really honored to be with you tonight, and thank you very much for your time, and thank you again for inviting me or facilitating me being here. Thank you. That's right. So you're still interested? Okay. Yeah, probably this poem was in the making for good 35 years that I thought that I could write such a thing, to express myself only in English, and I can connect with English-speaking world. And then I have translated this into Kurdish and also Farsi. So I want to spread how I feel, how I define myself, and how I felt when I arrived at Stansted Airport on 25th of June 1989. My suitcase. Under my bed, there it was, my seemingly little suitcase. Inside it, my few precious belongings. A present from my grandma, an evenly shaped light blue stone with white spots spread all over it. A present from my grandma, an evenly shaped light blue stone with white spots spread all over it. A familiar piece of early morning sky with tiny stars twinkling in the palm of my hand. A photo of my mother smiling at me in despair, waiting and wondering. A broken watch with frozen hands. Thank you.
Question?
in Iraq prison officially, but in detention. But I was in prison in Iran.
Sorry, how is the condition of life in a prison in Iran?
I think at the time I can recall it was just before, between 1978 79, that revolution and the whole kind of upheaval and the political unrest, and especially in the part that I lived in Kurdistan, that you were wanted. We felt we were free, obviously. We had relatively more freedom to ride, come and go, but then when you were picked by the security police and were put in prison, it was a different matter altogether. And the fear that you had suddenly came to you as a brick wall, and you thought, oh, my fear justified, I had to. And you could see why you didn't protect yourself, why didn't you flee. But then obviously as a young person at the time, I didn't know much. I thought I was brave enough with others to face it. But then I think the condition overall, apart from not physical torture as such, but then torturing you mentally, putting you in dark places, make you listen to music that you probably hate, or quiet for good 10 hours, then bang, bang, and then trying to break you psychologically and cry probably and say things that you didn't want to say, or tell them the truth. So that was a really dark place, a dark tunnel. But you, with your belief and you believe in your people, I always thought I'll be free, but I always thought a light at the end of the tunnel. Therefore, the first 17 days, I really think that 17 days created a gap in my life that I still want to get over it. I feel why humans do such a thing against each other. For only reason of publishing an article, and just for suspicion of being communist at the time. I think that's what I can only recall, and I don't want really to recall much.
Thank you.
You talk about the Kurdish diaspora. How's it spread around the world?
Okay, I thought that question would come. And I have some of the statistics here I didn't mention. I think the current literature talks about the overall 3 million Kurdish diaspora. When we talk about Kurdish diaspora, we mean all 5 parts of Kurdistan. But under 1 million of these Kurdish diaspora, the majority of migrant workers came to Germany in the 1950s, and therefore probably around 1 million live in Germany.